Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Dominators. Now, this video is in two parts. I've already recorded a bit where I reviewed the first 3 episodes, and I felt like I needed to talk about where I was in the story at that point, having only seen this once before. I was just at a place where I'm like, I've got to get my thoughts for that on camera, and I thought about doing them as separate videos. But now that I've finished it, it makes more sense to do one video. So I'll show y'all that part first, where I talk about where I was 3 episodes in, and then I'll cut back to when I talk about the last 2 episodes. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be looking at the first 3 episodes of the Dominators. And this look is very telling, isn't it? Oh, the Dominators. This is only the 2nd time I've ever watched the Dominators, which means it's the first time I've ever watched the Dominators having seen it before, if that makes sense. Knowing what's coming, knowing what's happening, and basically reappraising it. The first 2 episodes were dreadful. Again, maybe it's because Empire of Death has just left me a little lackluster on Doctor Who right now, because it was such an anticlimactic, dumb ending for a season that I wanted to go back and watch something, and why I went to the Dominators, I don't know. I wouldn't exactly call that a palate cleanser, but oh, I remember the first time I watched the Dominators, and I mentioned this in that review 2 or 3 years back when I did it, that I wondered if it would be like the Crotons, which is the Crotons is a story that has a not so good reputation, but I always liked it. I found it very underrated. It's Bob Holmes. Very underrated story. I like the Crotons. So I wondered if the Dominators would be like that. And then you get to that opening scene when the 2 Dominators are talking and they're not even looking at each other. And they're, have you sent the orders to do this? And I was sitting there going, ooh, it's not going to be like the Crotons. This is going to be a long one, isn't it? And I was watching the first 2 episodes last night. And I kept getting distracted by my phone. I kept just getting distracted, pausing it, doing other stuff, going back to it, because it just was not engaging. The scene when the Quarks kill all the people at the beginning is pretty cool. Like when you see the girl's face turn all whatever, that's a pretty neat little effect. And I had forgotten that they saved the reveal of the Quarks to the cliffhanger of episode 1. You never really see the Quarks. You just kind of see from their point of view. So the reveal of the Quarks, in a way, is kind of neat. It doesn't completely work because the Quarks just aren't intimidating at all. The Quarks were very much supposed to be the next Daleks, like so many things were. Per usual, it didn't work. But it's nice that they saved that for the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger for episode 2 was pretty good as well. Those 2 episodes just... I started watching episode 3 last night, but I only got about 5 or 6 minutes in. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to bed, because it was kind of late. I'm like, I'm just going to go to bed. I can't get through episode 3, which I kept thinking was the halfway point, like finishing it. For some reason, sometimes I forget that the Dominators is 5 parts. It's just so weird for a classic Who story to be 5 parts. And that I keep sometimes thinking it's 6 parts, which it was originally meant to be 6 parts. I think it's a good thing they cut an episode out. And we got an episode added to the Mind Robber, which works. So I was thinking the end of episode 3 would be the halfway point. I had to remember when I looked at the menu. I was like, oh yeah, 5 parts. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. But I was just like, I'm going to bed. And that's rare for me to just stop in like the middle of an episode and be like, get back to it later. That's very rare for me. Usually I might stop in the middle of a story in Classic Who, but I'll finish the episode and then I'll come back to the next episode later. So that was a little odd, because those first few minutes of episode 3 wasn't doing anything for me. Luckily, when I got home, I watched about another 5 or 6 minutes of episode 3 while I was eating. And then I had gotten a package in the mail, a birthday present actually, from Simon, who has sent several things to me. Simon's also one of my patrons. He's been a huge supporter of the channel. He sent me a package for my birthday, which was the standard edition of Season 8, which I really appreciate Simon sending very, very much. I've even got his little note stuck up here. Where he sent it with the little Tardis in the corner. I actually have that right here. Well, I did have it right there stuck on the wall. So that's pretty cool. I always like when I get notes. I keep all the notes. Luckily, right after I finished doing that unboxing, I went back to episode 3. Things pick up after that in episode 3. Like the last half of episode 3 picks up. The scenes with Zoe and Arthur Cox's character, who I really like, the director's son, Cully, I think's his name. I really like him. Arthur's doing a really good job with him. I do like his character a lot. I don't like too many of the Deltons because they are just frustrating to deal with. Frustrating. We're going to debate and talk some more. I'm like, what is this, the American Congress? Where we debate and talk while not doing anything? Seriously. I'm like, which one of y'all are the Republicans and which ones are the Democrats? The only difference is y'all aren't actually fighting with each other. Yes, I know. It's politics about the dangers of total pacifism. I know. But most of the Deltons are very frustrating. So I like Cully, Arthur Cox's character. I do like him. He's putting in a good performance. The scenes with him and Zoe trying to sneak around to get the gun, I enjoy that. The little bit with them. What really is selling the story, the one thing that makes the story watchable, there are two things. Patrick Troughton, Fraser Hines, and I guess three things. Them together. Patrick Troughton is doing so much with his performances, and it really comes alive here in part 3. He had those moments in 1 and 2, like when he's pretending to be dumber than he is, and he's explaining to Jamie about, an unintelligent enemy is far less noticeable or watchable than a intelligent one. So he was playing dumb on purpose even when it was shocking him, to the point to where that actually works too when the Dominators let him go. Like, well, it's a laser gun, you do this, it comes out here. And how they're just like, no, they're harmless, leave them. It works. So I just love watching Troughton lie. I just love watching Troughton lie his tail off. I love it. But rule 1, the doctor lies. Unless it's the current doctor, then it's rule 1, the doctor cries, but that's a whole nother story. And then Fraser Hines as Jamie is putting in good performances. And in episode 3, you get so much of them together. I love when they're in the car and it cuts back and the doctor, of course, has dismantled the front of the car with all the wires and he's looking at it and fiddling with it. It's such a second doctor thing to do. And the apprehensive look on Jamie's face when he very much has that, I don't know if this is a good idea, doctor, look on his face. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Well, of course I do, Jamie. Just the way Troughton is playing it with that look on his face, like, ooh, stuff for me to play with. Troughton is one of the best actors to ever play the role. It's just these little nuances he does with the way he says his lines, his facial expressions, the little quirks, the little looks he gets on his face, and his body language. And it's such a tragedy that so much of his era is missing. I adore every surviving episode we have of Troughton, even if it's just like one episode of Abominable Snowmen, one episode of Evil Without Doubt. I'm glad we have those episodes just so we can see his performance, because I love those little things he does with his facial expressions and his body language. They just sell me on everything he does. And it has just this little comedic twinge to it, especially there when he's doing that. And I love how, it's all connected up in there, and he pretty much, I just got to climb up in there, and he climbs up in, and the camera cuts away to another scene, and when it cuts back, you just see his legs sticking out in the air. He's so far crawled up in there, his legs are just dangling out of it. It's like Troughton is making me laugh just with his legs. All I see is his legs with his feet dangling out, and even that's hilarious. And again, Jamie just has that look on his face like, well, this is going to go badly. I love them together. Jamie and the Doctor, the second Doctor, are they're one of the best TARDIS teams. I love them. You can tell that Patrick and Fraser were really good buddies in real life. You can tell they got on really well. It just oozes in their performances how well they get along. And then Jamie pulling him out, just kind of catching him by the back of the pants and pulling him out. I love that. And the Jamie's like, do you think you can get us down? You think you can, you think you can land this thing? And the Doctor acting a little friendly. Well, of course I can, of course. And this is the line of the first 3 episodes. This is the line. Of course I can. And Jamie just looks at him in one piece. The way Fraser Hines says that line with that deadpan look on his face and tone of voice. I was laughing so hard. You think you can land this thing? Well, of course I can. In one piece. I just started laughing. I could not help myself. That's such a funny scene. And the fact that they do end up crashing, you actually see them crashing, and Trout is just like, nothing broken, good. It's my, any landing you can walk away from. I love them together. And then this is also the episode that has that part I love where the Doctor had been warned to stay away from the Quarks. And of course he runs into one of the Dominators. And I like how something's up from the look on Troughton's face when he peeks up behind the rock and notices the Dominator there, which we don't see. It's just at a camera shot. That look on Troughton's face when you see his eyes kind of go wide and he looks to the left and he has that look on his face like a 5-year-old who just got caught doing something he's not supposed to. That child that just knows he's in trouble, that, uh-oh. It's just so funny, that look on Troughton's face. And then, of course, you see the Dominator, and he's like, I thought I told you to stay away from the Quarks. He's like, well, what I do? Anytime I see one, I run away, but they're all over the island. What am I supposed to do? I love the way Troughton plays it, because he plays it, again, he's convinced them he's a unintelligent fool. So he just plays to that. They're everywhere. What am I supposed to do? Lying through his teeth. And I love it. I love it. The second half of the episode was a great watch. And it was Troughton. Troughton and Fraser Hines make this unwatchable. It's not to take anything away from Wendy. Wendy just doesn't get a lot to do. I like what Wendy's doing here. Her performance is fine. Just Zoe's not really getting a lot to do. She's there. She's getting some stuff to do. But the focus is less on her. And of course they have to stick her in an outfit that shows off how she looks. Of course they do. Because the episode itself's not good. The Quarks are laughable. The Dominators. I like the guy playing the lead Dominator. Not the one that wants to kill everything, but the lead Dominator. Like I said, the performances are... But the actor, I don't know, something about him, I just like him. I like the kind of command tone and that kind of weird piercing gaze he has. Like someone you follow their orders. They give you an order, you follow your order. I think that actor's doing a good job with that. And again, the Deltons really irk me. But I'm liking Wendy, what we're getting of her. I'm liking Arthur Cox's character. And I'm loving Troughton and Fraser Hines. They are buoying the story to make it watchable. To where, by the end of episode 3 at least, I was having a good time. Whereas, going into episode 3, I was not. Like, the first 2 episodes, I was like, oof. This is a hard watch. Oof. I love Classic Who. I love the Troughton era, but oof. Like, it's not fair that I have so many episodes from season 4 missing. Fury from the Deep is missing, but the Dominators, I have all 5 episodes. That's just cruel. And even going into episode 3, like I said, 5 minutes in, I was like, I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. I can't do any more of this. But by the time I got through with the episode, I was like, I was having a good time. I was laughing and enjoying myself. Hopefully these last 2 parts will be nice, and then I'll do a review for those as well. Episodes 4 and 5 are so much better than the first half of the story. Like, the second half of episode 3 and episodes 4 and 5 are so much more enjoyable. I guess because stuff starts happening. It's less drawn out, less boring. Action. There's a lot of action going on. There's a lot of good dialogue going on. I like the scene when the main Dominator, the lead Dominator, goes to the town where all the pacifists are, and he has to deal with the council. I love that scene. I like the fact he keeps warning that one guy, look, you need to do what I tell you. He gives that guy so many chances before he kills him. He keeps telling him, you will obey. And things to that effect. And he even tells the guy, this is your last warning. I won't tell you again. And when the guy said, no, you need to speak with our leader with respect, Quarks, kill. He kills the guy. But he gave that guy a lot of warnings, to be fair. He didn't have to do that. So I'll give him that. And I like the fact that the leader, Cully's dad, is like, you want our assistance? The Dominator's just like, assistance. That's a really good scene. I really like, both the guys playing the Dominators are fine. Especially in the second half of the story, they seem to fit into their roles better, where they're not talking quite like this. they seem to get their roles better. But the guy playing the head Dominator, the lead Dominator, I like him. It's just something about his performance on screen is very captivating in the sense that you know he's in control. And he comes across as just, he has this kind of piercing gaze. He strikes me as this person you listen to when he talks. I just really like that in his performance. I enjoyed, oh God, Troughton. I love Troughton in this. Much like how Peter Capaldi can elevate some of his bad episodes, Patrick Troughton can elevate every story he's in. The good ones, the bad ones. And even though The Dominators is not a good story, especially the first half, the second half gets better. To be fair, The Dominators as a story is better in the second half. Troughton elevates it. He is my favorite part of this story. Him and Jamie together, their interactions in the story. And then Arthur Cox playing Cully I like a lot too. Wendy is good. Of course, as Zoe, she always is. She just doesn't get enough to do here, but she's good. But I just love some of the playful, childish mischief the Doctor gets to do here. The stuff he does and the manner in which Troughton performs it, what he does with his face, how he says the lines. I love when Jamie gets the idea about drilling the hole through. He's like, well, it was just an idea. And you see the Doctor, but Jamie, it's a splendid idea. How he gets all excited, like, I love that. It kind of reminds me of the Slug when the sloth when it gets the joke in Zootopia, and that's kind of Troughton. I love that. I love that. And then when he goes, it's a wonderful idea, Jamie. It's so simple, only you could have thought of it. And Jamie's like, hi. Hey? I love the way they perform that together. It's so simple, Jamie. Only you could have thought of it. Hi. Hey? It's like Jamie kind of knows he's being complimented and insulted at the same time, but doesn't quite. I love that. I adore that. I also liked, I think it was in episode 3, when the Doctor is pulling out his telescope to look down, his little periscope. And Jamie, without even looking, takes it away from him and starts using it. Because, of course, the Doctor meant to use it. And the Jamie, just as he's talking, grabs it without looking and starts looking through it. And the look on the Doctor's face, Troughton's face, was like, I was about to use that. I love the camaraderie Frasier and Patrick have. You can tell they're such good friends. They have the fact that comes off so effortlessly, like it's two friends just toying with each other, messing with each other. And of course, they're both, Frasier and Patrick were notorious practical jokers. I love when Troughton gets to use the Sonic. It's nice seeing the Sonic at use here when he cuts through the wall with it. I enjoy watching the Doctor when he finds out about the first aid kit. Ooh, first aid kit. Well, that's probably bound to have some chemicals that you can mix together with a little ingenuity. You'd be amazed what you can do with a few chemicals and a little ingenuity. Just that look on his face. Like the kid who's just put the M80 down the toilet or the cherry bomb down the toilet and flushed it. Ooh. He does get this childish look about him. Like when a 6-year-old gets what they think is a really clever idea. Troughton is so good at doing that. Ooh, I can get into trouble. I love it. I love it so much. And then when he does manage to get the bomb, he's like, oh, it's sealed. I don't know how to get it off world. And you see him realize he can put it on the Dominator ship. And you see him, oh, I might know how I can get it off world. Ooh, and you see him start tapping his finger. It might. Well, what do you mean, Doctor? Oh, you let me worry about that, Jamie. That's the kid who's first thinking of the idea of putting the cherry bomb down the toilet. It's like, I got this cherry bomb. I'm in the bathroom. I don't want to get caught with the evidence. What do I do with it? And then he looks at the toilet and goes, ooh, that's exactly the look on Troughton's face. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love the little bit of humor he adds when he just sets the little bomb down in their ship. And then the first inner door closes, and then the outer door starts to close, and he has to squeeze his way out. That's so Second Doctor. That's so Second Doctor. Oh, there's another door. And then the ending scene when the lava comes up. Oh, it's all right. And he's got his napkin, and he's all right now, Jamie. It's just going to affect the island. And Jamie, of course, is like, yeah, but we're on the island. You see the Doctor, oh, my word. They're such a great double act, those two together. And that's so the Doctor in general, to notice all of the little things and not notice the big thing. Like, it's only gonna, lava's only gonna flood the island. We're on the island. Oh, yeah. Oh, my word. That's so the Doctor. It reminds me of in Closing Time when he sees Amy and she's signing an autograph, and he's so astounded to see her, and then he looks back and he sees her on that little, like, billboard behind him, and he seems shocked that she's like a model now. And I remember the first time I saw that, talking to my uncle about it, who's also a big Doctor Who fan, and I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. Isn't that a bit of a plot hole? I mean, he's been working in this mall for like months, right? Wouldn't he have noticed the giant picture of her on the billboard? And my uncle looked at me and went, you know how he is. Talking about how the Doctor can be oblivious to the obvious. He'll notice the little things nobody else does, but be completely oblivious to the obvious. Like, we're on the island. And that worked for me. My uncle had a point. I will admit, when he went, you know how he is, I had to be like, fair enough. That's a good point. That works for me. That's so in character for the Doctor. So yeah, him not realizing, oh yeah, we need to get off the island. Totally in character for the Doctor. And I love it. Few problems. What happened to the actual Deltans who were on the island? Where did they go? One of them was partially paralyzed, and there are two others. I missed it in the dialogue. How did they get out? How did they not get the little bomb shelter covered in lava? Did they manage to get back to the pod and use it to go back to the town? Because we know we had that one pod, the one the Dominator used to go to the town. I mean, did they manage to get to the pod and get in it and get away in time, or... That's not really explained well for me. I have questions. I hope they got out all right, but it doesn't really elaborate on that. At least I didn't catch it if it did. I also enjoyed the scenes watching Jamie and Cully blowing up the quarks. I did enjoy that. It's funny how the quarks become pretty useless at the end. Like, they're so deadly and dangerous especially like the first episode or two, and then they become less dangerous because they're always missing. But I love the fact that's explained in the dialogue because they're low on power. I mean, the whole story talks about how their power is low. Their power is low. That's why the head Dominator doesn't want the second in command Dominator expending energy what he thinks is needlessly, because power is low. The quark's power is low. It hammers that home. So I like the fact that it mentions in there at the end that the low power is affecting their aim. That at that distance they can't aim with their normal accuracy. And the fact that they're missing, it explains why they're missing a lot, and of course why when they hit Curry it doesn't kill him, it just temporarily paralyzes him. I like the fact the dialogue addressed that, because it was starting to bother me that they kept missing, and it just seemed like they became very ineffectual. So the fact there is some dialogue to explain that and tie it into the story, I can appreciate. The Dominators isn't a great story. I don't even know if I'd call it a good story. It's a lot like The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, where the first half of it's really bad, but it gets progressively better. Greatest Show in the Galaxy, the first two episodes are awful, where the third episode is decent and the fourth episode is really good. Really good. The Dominators gets like that too here, where the first half, I'd say the first two episodes and the first third or half of episode 3 aren't really that good, but the second half of episode 3 and episodes 4 and 5 are a pretty fun watch. It's a pretty adventurous little romp. Now, I think Frasier and Troughton are carrying a lot of it on its back with their performances because they're so great together. Wendy's doing fine, and again, I like Arthur as Cully a lot. And then the Dominators seem to be getting better in their role too. I can never take the Quarks seriously. I can't take the Quarks seriously. They just come across silly to me. But the story does get better. I'm not where I was in episode 2 when I'm like, oh, this is going to be so hard to finish. when I'd only watched the first 5 or 6 minutes of episode 3, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to bed. I can't deal with this episode. Whereas I'm finishing it now, and I'm like, hey, that was all right. You know, the second half, which I watched today, was fine. It was enjoyable in places. Again, a lot of it's Troughton and Fraser, but even the story itself gets better because there's more happening. It gets more interesting. I really think it grows a lot and gets better in its second half, much like Greatest Show in the Galaxy. So that's my thoughts on the Dominators. With a second half that's considerably better. I'm not going to say it's great or anything, but it's fun. It's a fun little romp. But the second half is considerably better than the first half. Comment down below and let's talk about the Dominators. Other things to do, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button as well. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There is a link to that down there, several different tiers to choose from. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney and Stephen Crane. I appreciate their support as I do the support of all of my patrons. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. A link to my Amazon wish list is down there. Simon just sent me this wonderful Season 8 collection set for my birthday, which I very much appreciate Simon doing. And I believe some of these are on my Amazon UK wish list, some of the other standard editions if you'd like to send me any more of those. And most importantly, thank you for watching.